Welcome to the mind of a math teacher.
Hey, it is a beautiful day to build some equations. So, here are my goals for this lesson. Number one, I would like to make sure you understand the equation y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. I want to remind you that parallel lines have the same slope, perpendicular lines have negative reciprocal slopes of each other, and then I'm going to look at some examples of building equations for lines that are parallel to a given line or lines that are perpendicular to a given line. So here we go. So first and foremost, you always want to start out with this equation of a line y equals mx plus b. This is called the slope-intercept form of a line, and it's extremely helpful in building equations. M is the slope of your line, and b is the y-intercept. And all of the ordered pairs, x and y, are going to be the values on the graph that this line will actually go through. So if x and y together are a solution to your equation, if they make the equation true, then that means that that point is a point on that line or on the equation of that line. When you look at parallel lines, you want to notice right away that parallel lines will always have the same slope. And slope being rise over run, you can see that as I go up and over, make little staircases here, I've got the rise and the run, rise and the run. Those values are going to have to be the same because these two lines are parallel. If the two lines had any sort of difference in their slope, then that would mean they would end up crossing. And so that's not how parallel lines work. Perpendicular lines, on the other hand, are going to have negative reciprocal slopes. So when I draw in a perpendicular line here, I want you to notice that if the slope of my first line was up 2 over 3, then the slope of my second line, we'll call that first one m1, m2, the slope of my second line would be negative 3 over 2. And you can see that that's the case. It's going downward like this. It's a negative slope, but it's not going down 2 over 3. It's not just the flipped over version of that first slope. It's actually negative 3 over 2. And so if you want to watch my video specifically about slopes and seeing how that works, I would recommend that you do that. But we're going to jump into using these principles in some examples of building an equation right now. So here's our first example. It says line F can be written as y equals 10 ninths x plus 3. Line G is perpendicular to line F and passes through 4, negative 2. What is the equation of line G? Well, the way I always want you to think about these is that there's some important information in these questions and there's some extra information. The important information here is the slope of this original line is very important. So I want to just put a box around that slope of 10 ninths and make sure that I notice that's the slope of my original line. The next thing that's really important here is we want to find a line that's perpendicular to that line. So I don't want a line that's parallel in this example. I want a line that's perpendicular. I don't want my answer to have a slope of 10 ninths. I want my answer to have a slope of negative 9 tenths. That's going to be very important. And the last thing that's important is that this x value and this y value have to work in my answer. The equation that I'm going to build have to have that value as x and y actually work inside them. So here's how we can use those three important pieces of information to build an equation, like it says in this question. So I'm always going to start off by writing y equals mx plus b, and then I'm going to fill in the slope that I want my line to actually have. So in this one, because we want the perpendicular line and the original slope is 10 ninths, we want to have a slope of 9 tenths on our answer. And we're already most of the way to our answer. All we need to figure out is what this b value is, and we'll have our final result. We can put a box around it, call it done. So I need to use this piece of information over here that I put a box around. When this x value and this y value come into play, it's going to help me build my solution. So let's put negative 2 in for the y value, and we will put 4 in for the x value, and I want you to see what happens. The only letter left in this equation is b, so I can solve for b. So let's go through and do that. We have negative 2 equals, now I just have to multiply negative 9 tenths. times 4. That's negative 36 tenths plus b. Now I'm going to do a little bit of algebra. I'm going to add 36 tenths to both sides. And so negative 2 is just negative 20 tenths. And I add 36 tenths to that, I should get 16 tenths. And I can reduce that down to 8 fifths, which equals b. Now, it's always a temptation to just put a box around b equals 8 fifths and think that that's my answer. But the question here was, what is the equation of the line that we end up with? So we want to make sure that we write down as our answer y equals negative 9 tenths x plus 8 fifths. That's the equation of the line that is perpendicular to our original line. Notice that the slope is the negative reciprocal, the perpendicular slope. And notice that it would go through for negative 2 because we built this y-intercept just so that when y is negative 2 and x is 4, it works out perfectly. Let's look at a second example. So this one says the equation of line P is y equals 5/9 x minus 2. And we want parallel to line P is line Q. So notice that word parallel is going to be very important, and 5/9 as the slope is going to be very important. I can't even finish reading the question before underlining and putting a box around those because I know those are going to be the important parts. So it says, we're talking now about line Q, which passes through the point 6, 2. And what is the equation of line Q? So we're going to do a very similar thing here. We'll start off with y equals mx plus b. And we will, this time, because it says parallel, we'll actually put in 5/9. The most common mistake here is that students will read this too fast or not notice whether it says parallel or perpendicular on the question and make that mistake. You have to be very careful here at the beginning of finding these solutions, because if you put in the wrong slope, you're going to end up way off from the correct answer. But if we put in the correct slope, things should work out pretty nicely. So now I'm going to label here, I have x is 6 and y is 2, that those have to work in my equation. So 2 equals 5/9 times 6 plus b. And the rest is just working through the algebra here. So we've got 2 equals 30/9 plus b. And since I have fractions to work with, instead of the 2, I'm going to want to convert that into 18/9 and subtract 30/9 from both sides. I'll get b equals negative 12/9, which of course reduces down to negative 4/3. And again, I want to make sure I notice my question said what is the equation of line Q. So I build my equation for my answer, y equals 5/9 x minus 4/3. There we have it. Now, on any of these kinds of examples, if you are unsure if you may have possibly made a mistake, if you'd like to check what you're doing, you can go to desmos.com. It would be a very quick and easy thing to just graph this. Make sure that it does have a slope of 5/9. Make sure that it does go through the point 6, 2, and you can just kind of visually check that that works. Now, our last example. So this time, because we've looked at 2 examples already where it was all written out, I wanted to just make this a little bit quicker by saying, here's the equation of our original. I want the parallel line that goes through this point, because these are the things that you need to pull out of a question in order to do this process. So let's get right into the process. Y equals mx plus b. And parallel means this time we're going to have the same slope in our answer. So y equals 1/6 x plus b. And then we can label over here x and y are negative 6 and negative 6. So we will put those in, the y value first, and then the x value second. And now we just have a simple algebra equation to solve. We have negative 6 equals negative 6/6 plus b. Well, of course, negative 6/6 is negative 1. So we'll just add 1 to both sides, and we get negative 5 is our value for b. So our solution, our actual answer in the form of an equation of a line, is y equals 1/6 x minus 5. So I hope that this helps you to be able to find the equation of a line that's either parallel or perpendicular to a given line when your line has to go through a specific point. So if you like this video, it helps me out. It helps it get in front of more people. I think that's the way YouTube works. If you comment on this video, then that helps you because it will show me what other videos you'd like me to make, things that you'd like me to answer and help you understand. And if you subscribe, it also helps you because then you'll get these videos much faster. You'll get them as soon as they upload and you'll be notified of that. So have a great day and keep on learning.